Hey guys, welcome to
Hi.
the Severed Floor, a mysterious and important podcast where we deal with the uncertainty of the Apple TV Plus series Severance in a way that Kier would have wanted, together as a family. We also speak candidly about sensitive issues as they relate to the show, such as mental health, politics, bigotry, etc., because these conversations are important. I am Kelly K, liaison for the Jesus.
I'm Jazzy Elevator Castrato S, floor manager of the 10th Sex Room.
Man, I'm not sure whether to be envious of that job or to pity you for having that job.
It's not the best job in the 7th floor.
But you get to laugh at all the indie virgins having
You gotta
sex.
wipe up all the loads. That's
Yeah, yeah, that's true. um, I am I'm very I was very disappointed that that Apple didn't take the or that Severance didn't take the opportunity to go further with the Jesus reference because I really wanted to answer. I really wanted him to answer not Jesus Christ, just some guy who calls himself the Jesus.
I'm
Oh man.
really interested in how this like new religious aspect. I mean, we'll get into it, but I was not
Yeah.
expecting to hear that like Lumon was out recruiting at churches. Like that's really interesting,
Well,
considering
I
they're
find
like
it more interesting that yeah, we'll just get into it later because
yeah.
it's gonna go into the Lexington letter and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
we've got some thoughts. This was a fucking great episode. I loved
It
it.
was yeah, it was incredible.
It's like everyone keeps getting better than the last. Like there hasn't been a dud yet. I swear.
No, not at all. This season's just popping. Like the pacing's great. The acting is like flawless, immaculate. Like just, I
Yeah.
feel like this show's gonna clean up this year. I really hope. It's got the
I
buzz now.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, Britt Lauer needs an Emmy because how that woman
Yeah,
can go from like me wanting to just give her character a big hug and just protect her at all costs to the next scene, I just want her to suffer terribly. Like
yeah. I just want to beat the bricks off her. Yeah.
it's crazy.
Ooh, Helena was wilding in this episode.
Oh my gosh,
I got, she got me heated.
awful. She is so awful.
She's a
Like,
monster.
oh, what a terrible person. And it's so funny because it's like you see the little bit of Helly in her,
Yeah.
and it's like it almost makes you want to like her because you love Helly, but like this woman is awful.
She's the worst. She makes me like I'm filled with rage just thinking about that scene,
My
which we'll get
God.
to. But
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously.
it was a
Hannah.
great episode. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, same. Um, by the way, if you are watching us and you usually prefer to get your podcasts via audio, like if you're lounging in your pool or mowing your lawn or like driving to work or whatever, we do have our podcast available on wherever you listen to podcasts. Basically, it's the Severed Floor podcast. It's SVR apostrophe D. And I'm sorry, I keep getting my hair in my mouth. And if you are listening to us, you can find us on our YouTube channel, which is Cyborg Queen Media on YouTube. And every Friday we do a live after show, 5 p.m. Eastern. So come join us. We take calls. There's a live chat. It's always a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Um,
Yeah, last week was a
also,
really good time.
also, we are really sorry that our coverage is so late. It's been a real struggle to cover this show without screeners when we're also covering another show at the same time, Yellow Jackets. It's not easy. I mean, we both have chronic health conditions and we don't have the bandwidth to keep up with our our healthy non-disabled peers. It's not easy. So it's been extremely difficult. We're trying every week to get these out as soon as possible, but it just doesn't always work out.
Yeah, this week was a mess.
As
I don't think I haven't had a week that wasn't a mess since like December, like the early half of December, but we prevail. We continue.
Yes.
We fight on.
And the good thing is there's some awesome stuff going on in the background on top of that, which is great. So
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive. Everyone's happy and chill. You know, there's nothing to be filled with existential dread about.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
I don't feel like the world actually did end in 2012 and we're in an endless hell dimension. We just didn't notice slipping into. I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. I mean, and if it's not, who cares? We're not billionaires. We don't deserve to have good lives.
Oh no, parasite. We're the part of the parasite.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
economy.
parasites.
I've heard. That's what I've been told.
All right.
Wow, it's getting dark.
Yeah, I know. We're in a mood today. But there are awesome things though going on with our channel and with our shows and everything. So that's good. At least we have that to look forward to.
Severance is excellent. Thank you for being a bright light in a dark sea.
Oh man. But yeah, let's just jump right into it.
Let's do it.
This episode is called Attila, and I love the reasoning for that because it's like everyone's always speculating on the episode titles and like, what the fuck does this mean? And I loved the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. It was such a small moment.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, is there more there because it was important enough for them to use it as the episode title?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But all right, take it away, Jazz.
Okay. We open up. The episode begins in Mark Scout's basement, where he's sitting with Dr. Asil Ragabi, the former Lumon surgeon and 1.25 time reintegration champion. She is helping to restore his severed memories. Mark recounts an unsettling vision from the previous episode, where he saw his supposedly deceased wife, Gemma, appearing as her Lumon persona, Miss Casey, in a sterile white hallway with an elevator. He describes the encounter as not human and like a nightmare, noting how Gemma rattled off facts about Cold Harbor rather than engaging with him emotionally. Ragabi interprets this as progress, suggesting that Gemma is still in there, and that reintegration could help bring her back. Mark reflects on the stages of grief, mentioning bargaining and how he'd give up anything, sobriety, dignity, to see Gemma again. Ragabi proposes an experimental procedure to flood the severance chip in Mark's brain to accelerate the reintegration, warning that it may carry a small risk of hemorrhage. Ragabi's seeming eagerness is off-putting to Mark, and he refuses, unsure about the danger after what happened to Petey in season 1. The scene shifts to the severed floor, where Dylan briefs Mark and Helly about the map Irving left behind before his death at Woe's Hollow. Dylan describes it as directions to a black hallway with a black elevator that only goes down, hidden behind the poster in the break room. Helly speculates that this could lead to Miss Casey, whom they believe Lumon is holding on a lower floor. Dylan admits he left the map behind because he's wary of risking his visitation privileges with his family. Helly speculates this could lead to Miss Casey, whom they believe Lumon is holding on a lower floor. When asked why he left the map behind, Dylan is hesitant to disclose the reason, still hiding his visits with his Audi's wife, Gretchen, from his companions. Helly volunteers to retrieve it, sarcastically asking if it's behind the poster of Dylan actually being brave, but Dylan walks off, and Mark, distracted, doesn't comment on the plan. Helly snaps, "Did everyone sever their balls in the elevator this morning?" but gets no response. Love that. Uh, at Lumen, Mark heads to the kitchen area to grab a snack. He opens the fridge, and his vision flickers between Lumen's snacks and his home fridge, where he only keeps beer and his disgusting curdled swamp mucus reintegration sauce. Helly joins him in the kitchen, and he can see he's not looking well. She asks if he's okay, but her face flickers back and forth between the Helly R we know and Helena Egan. The crossover unsettles him, hinting that his reintegration is already destabilizing his perception. Meanwhile, in Mr. Milchek's office, reeling from his harsh performance review in the previous episode, he calls in Miss Huang, his assistant, and passive-aggressively addresses the anonymous complaints against him, likely from her. He warns that she cannot graduate from the Wintertide Fellowship until he deems her worthy, urging her to focus on her duties and eradicate childish folly. Later, alone, Milchek obsessively aligns paperclips in the same direction until his hands tremble, then stares in the mirror, simplifying a convoluted reprimand. You must eradicate yourself from childish folly into a curt grow up, reflecting his attempt to internalize the critique that he uses overly complicated language. Milchek's struggle to understand where he fits in Lumen, both with his race and his very personality under attack, is palpable and shows he's a much more empathetic character than we previously thought. Back on the severed floor, Mark finds Helly in the bathroom and confesses the truth about the orc boat incident from episode 4. He admits that they've shared vessels, that is, slept with each other. He slept with Helena Egan, Helly's outie, who has been posing as Helly ever since they returned from the overtime contingency. Mark explains that he thought it was Helly at the time, emphasizing that it was unintentional. Helly is shaken and feels violated that her outie used her body to deceive her friends. She retreats to process this alone, leaving Mark working alone and MDR guilt-ridden. The narrative changes over to outie Irving arriving at the home of outie Bert G and his husband Fields for a dinner invitation that was set up in the previous episode. The atmosphere is initially warm but grows tense. Over ham and wine, Fields asked why they opted for Severance. Bert explains his scoundrel past made him fear damnation, but their Lutheran pastor claimed innies have separate souls and can be judged independently. They believed Bert's innie could go to heaven with Fields even if his outie didn't. The conversation turns awkward when Fields, tipsy, probes whether Bert's innie and Irving had unprotected sex at Lumen. Irving deflects, but Fields insists that he's fine with it if it is true, citing his belief that innies deserve love. Fields then recalls meeting Bert's Lumen partner 20 years ago, prompting Irving to note that Severance only began 12 years ago, implying Bert may have deeper ties to Lumen than that predate the procedure. Bert brushes it off as Fields' memory failing and overindulgence in wine, but the discrepancy lingers. They've nicknamed each other Attila after Attila the Hun, a playful evolution from Hun, tying to the episode's title. After dinner, Irving leaves with the world's first and only spare ham. Seriously, whoever has leftover ham. Bert invites Irving to spend more time together. Irving says, of course, with you and Fields. But Bert seems to heavily imply that it would be nice if he and Irving spent some time alone. They smile at each other, and Irving leaves, but Bert watches him go with a strange expression. Is Bert possibly in cahoots with Drummond?
Back at Lumen, Gretchen visits Innie Dillon during a family visitation. After chatting about Dillon's growing comfortably around Gretchen, he earns a prolonged hug. Then she impulsively kisses him, leaving Dillon awestruck. He laments that he can't be with her fully as outie Dillon gets her time, not him. Gretchen insists they're always together, but Dillon retorts, you and him are, but I'm not. Later on at home, Gretchen lies to outie Dillon, telling him the encounter she was supposed to have with this innie today was canceled. Gretchen is clearly torn between these two versions of the man she loves. Helly, having processed Mark's confession, strides with purpose back to MDR to find him. She expresses frustration that Helena got to have that experience while she didn't, refusing to let her outie define her. Mark reassures her he wants to be with her, not Helena, and would have never bumped vessels with her if he had known it wasn't Helly. They retreat to an unused office, building a makeshift tent from desks and plastic sheeting. Inside, they share a tender, consensual moment of intimacy, reclaiming agency over their innate desires. Afterward, they stroll down the hallway, returning to MDR, basking in the post intimacy glow. They kiss again, but Mark pulls back with a nosebleed, reminiscent of PD's reintegration symptoms from season 1. Miss Wang checks on Mark, noting the severed floor's humidity is stable at 45%, ruling out environmental causes for the nosebleed. She asks if he has a deviated septum or other symptoms like hallucinations, and takes his blood pressure. As she does, Mark flickers into his basement, seeing Ragabi before snapping back to Lumon. Mark disassociates back and forth between his home and the severed floor as reintegration takes over his brain. Elsewhere, Mr. Drummond breaks into Irving's house with a set of keys. He unlocks a padlocked chest, uncovering documents, including a list of severed employees with addresses in Kier PE, a fictional city. This suggests Irving's Audi is investigating Lumon, possibly tracking severed workers, including Bert G., though his motives remain unclear. Audi Mark, frustrated by the pressure Ragabi has placed on flooding his chip, storms out to Zufu, a Chinese restaurant with a half-lit sign. There he coincidentally bumps into Helena Egan. She approaches him, feigning curiosity about his work at Lumon, eventually letting it slip that she's the head of the company. Their banter is flirty, but there's a strained undercurrent. She probes about the overtime contingency from season 1's finale, which Mark dodges. When she mentions his late wife Hannah, Mark corrects her. It's Gemma, and realizes she knows more than she lets on. Rattled, he gets up to leave abruptly, but Helena stands and blocks his exit for a tense, threatening farewell before he leaves. Returning home, Mark apologizes to Ragabi for being a dick and agrees to the chip flooding procedure tonight. Ragabi, who is eating frosting straight from the tub in a very relatable manner, agrees. In the basement, Ragabi peels back Mark's scalp, exposing hole from his original severance surgery, echoing the season 2 opening credits. She injects a fluid via a long needle into the chip, overloading it. Mark immediately experiences intense crossover. Flashes of Gemma in a purple sweater without Ms. Casey's familiar Lumon regulation bob, and his earlier moment with Helly at Lumon. His head throbs as the worlds collide. As Mark reels, Devin knocks at his door, concerned he's dodging her calls during their corporate espionage efforts against Lumon. Despite Ragabi's plea to stay put, Mark staggers upstairs to let Devin in, fearing she'll suspect something if he doesn't, because his car is in the driveway. Devin questions why he's cutting her out. Mark, sweating and unsteady, brushes her off, saying he's trying something else before demanding to know what is that smell. As he grabs a glass but can't hold it, he sees more flashes. Gemma in the hallway, Helly in the tent, before collapsing in a seizure, foaming at the mouth. Gabi rushes upstairs to Devin's side as the episode ends on this cliffhanger. What a great episode.
Yeah.
The next episode is called Chikai Bardo, which, do you know what that refers to?
Mm-mm.
It's, I forget what religion it is, but it's like it's basically like it's Hinduism, maybe? I'm not sure, but it's basically like this stage in between life and death.
Okay.
But
Interesting. Oh dear.
yeah.
That's not a great start.
I'm dying to know like what the aftermath of this is going to be.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh, poor Mark.
yeah. I mean, what if one of the Marks dies from this? But like a lot of people are speculating that maybe this will actually kill Marcus.
I hope not. If it kills anyone, you need to kill Audi Mark. Mark S needs to be protected at all costs.
Yes.
I can't live with that.
Mark S is too precious.
I can't live. No. I won't have that. Oh god,
But
I'm so stressed out now that you said that.
now I don't know if you noticed this, but when they were in the restaurant, um, and he and Helena were standing there staring at each other as he was getting ready to leave, you heard that whoosh. So
Mhm.
he was clearly having a reintegration glitch, like,
Mhm.
that we just didn't see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, I'm assuming it was
Him
with
yeah.
with her.
That's what I was thinking, is that it was registering to him who she was, like, not just who she was, but like who she is to him. She had assaulted him. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah. That has to be so many like complicated feelings to process in the most complicated way imaginable. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
seriously. Um, I also want to, I wanna just bring up this picture here. So that's Helena's car with the driver sitting outside
Hmm.
the parking lot. Um, but, this restaurant, Zufu, Zufu means grandfather. Um,
And the grand is blacked out. Is that
yeah.
yeah? That's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about that. It's just, I mean, I think everybody's pretty convinced this pregnancy storyline is going to
Oh
happen.
yeah,
From what I've
it
seen, most
has
people
to.
don't want it.
I think it's
Um,
really like I hate a pregnancy storyline. I'm on record on damn near every podcast we have about how much I hate a pregnancy storyline. But
yes,
in this one instance, I think it's really fascinating.
I do
Um,
too.
there's just there's so many angles to consider. Like,
Especially now that Mark and Helly have had sex.
yeah, exactly. As was Helly came back down that hallway, like, I am gonna get pregnant. I I'm getting a baby in me now. Um, she had intent
Yes.
with that decision.
Yeah.
Do innies know about contraception? Is that something they get to keep? Are they for? Or I mean, I'm sure they take some precautions because they do have sex. There is the waffle party. We have to keep coming back to. So like,
Yeah. I
are
which
there Lumen branded condoms around somewhere?
I don't think so, because I can't imagine that the waffle party exists for anything other than trying to breed people.
Ooh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, because think about it, okay? It's the 4 tempers. The dancers are the 4 tempers, right?
Yeah.
And, like, they're trying to breed people with 4 tempers. Like, it's so fucking weird.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because especially like it's one thing if it's it's dudes, but like you can't send a bunch of pregnant women home. Like,
Right?
yeah, you can't just pop babies in your employees when they're not looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess you can if you're Lumen, but um,
Yeah, I mean, there was a story on the news in season 1
hmm.
that they talked about the woman who got pregnant at work. Like, I'm wondering if that was a waffle party thing, you know?
See, I was assuming it was a birthing situation where like
Yeah.
they fell in love, or like Mark and Helly, they fell in love
That's
on
what
the
I was assuming
floor.
too.
Yeah,
But
but it
but
could
yeah,
be a waffle party pregnancy.
yeah, it could
And you have
be.
the shame.
It really could be.
What
Um,
will you tell your mother?
it's so funny because I was so in denial before um about it being Helena on the severed floor.
Hmm.
And it's just like they're just so different. They really are.
Yeah,
Like it's just,
Brett Lauer is
and
an incredible actress.
she really
She's
is.
absolutely incredible.
She really is. Um And, it's funny because, like, and it's funny because I even kinda clocked it that I thought something was weird with her before she even talked about
Mhm.
the night gardener, but I still didn't think it was Helena. I still thought it was it was Helly, um, because, like, just the way that she asked Mark if he was okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, she was like, "Oh my god, Mark, are you okay?" Like, she's just she doesn't talk like that, you know? She did
Yeah,
like
I went back and forth on it pretty much
yeah,
every episode. Like, I was
yeah,
convinced it was Helena until they had the scene in A Million's Nurturable, and then I was like, "Oh, it's not her."
yeah.
But then I kind of went back to it again. Um, the big things for me were the way she came off the elevator, because if that was her
That was
coming
weird.
back to life for the first time after being tackled at like, it's just really strange how calm she was. And there was no ding.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of little clues. Her not being able to find the button to the computer bothered me a lot too.
yeah, yeah, same.
Um, but yeah, that was really the only thing for me that was convincing me that it might be Helly, was
Yeah,
her performance in Mammalian's Nurturable. Everything else for me, I was like, no, it's not her. It's got to be Helena.
yeah. Um, let's talk about Regabi for a second because I
Yeah,
have never questioned Regabi,
yeah,
and I'm kinda starting to now.
because
Um,
of the flooding.
well, I mean, okay, so Petey was ignoring her calls,
Hmm.
and he died. Um, and, and now Mark is, like, this whole thing happened with Mark. What if she's actually trying to kill people who wanted to reintegrate?
Ooh, I hope not. Shit, that seems like a lot of work.
I
Seems like it'd be
know.
easier. There'd be easier ways.
I know. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but, like, I don't know. I just there's a lot of mystery around her, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I just I don't know. I don't she was just she was so intent on, like, reintegration as the only option, and she was basically, like, the one who put people's chips in their heads.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about her. Um, like, I they were in touch with, Cobell and Greener were in touch with her before when they were following Petey around. Like, I don't know what to think of the whole thing, you know what I mean?
yeah. I I don't think that she's bad,
I
but
hope
I
not.
do, if like yeah, I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Um,
She doesn't talk like a Lumen person.
no, she doesn't.
No.
Um,
Um,
yeah, and I'm curious, like, I don't know. It seems like pretty much everyone involved in Lumen is a part of that, like, cult, like,
yeah.
she does not seem like that at all. Maybe it's because she's like on the science end, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, she's a real wild card.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Her eating that frosting though, big ups. I had never seen that on television before. I was saying that to my husband and to you earlier. Like, people are always like casually eating ice cream or peanut butter. I've never seen anyone casually eating frosting. What up? That's my
That was
girl.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That was
I
pretty
was like,
awesome.
relatable. What a relatable queen.
Seriously. She's really got a sweet tooth. Eggnog and
Mm,
frosting. Um,
yeah.
so weird.
Weird.
But, so what was next that I wanted to talk about?
I want to talk about the milkshake scene.
I'm going through my notes here, and that's the
Yeah,
next thing that I want to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about the milkshake thing.
there's so much
Milk
going on there.
the milkshake thing, because that was number one on my list of things that I wanted to talk about,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get your take on this because from a race
Who
perspective.
uh man, Tremeltman needs to be in the, not just like in the Emmy conversation this season, but he needs to be the Emmy conversation this season for like supporting actor. His work on the show is incredible. Like his performance is incredible. Like the way that just like us, like that moment of his hands trembling completely changed the way I felt about his character. Like 100%. Like they made him a completely different person to me.
Yeah.
But like I love how layered and how interesting his journey is this season, like trying to find his place within Lumon as a black man, and like being like, it's like there's so like it's interesting how like there's so much pressure on black people to like conform and speak in a way that is acceptable to like white society, for then like I'm sure he's been practicing that his entire life. You hear, like, you've seen my recaps, like how wordy I can get about. I can't even do Twitter. I'm so verbose. Like I write something and then I spend a half hour trying to edit it down to Twitter size.
Yeah.
Like it is like ingrained in you. First of all, there's always the like you have to do twice as much and work twice as hard to get half as far that every black person in this country has been told their entire life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is that push that like if you're going to succeed, if you're going to be a like a higher level contributing member of society, you need to be erudite, you need to have a flawless vocabulary and speak very well. Like I cannot tell you how many times you speak so well. Like I can't tell you how many
Oh
times I've
my
gotten that in my
gosh.
life. It drives me insane. Yes, I know I do. I'm educated. But yeah, it's incredible to see that then use that as a weapon. Like you're yeah, okay, you did well, but now you're taking it too far. Now you're uppity. Like you need to
Yeah.
take it back a pace. Like it's just like it's so much, they're processing so much like corporate racial trauma through his character, and it's really interesting, and he's handling it so beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene of him shouting in the mirror, like yeah, what a performance. That whole section, even though it's only like it's probably the smallest part of the episode, was this like the standout thing in the episode for me. It was like they're saying so much here with so little.
Yeah.
Yeah, really incredible.
Well, and I realized that was likely Miss Wong's complaint,
Absolutely,
that he uses
they
too
all
many big
were.
words. But the fact that they actually took it to heart and weren't just like, um, if this were anybody else, they wouldn't see that as an issue
No, absolutely not.
because they use big words all the
Exactly.
time.
I've said that. I was like, I don't see how his speech is any different than Cabell's.
It's not.
Like, yeah, the way he speaks, but they're using that to like peck at him,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, now you've coded yourself to be like the best possible version of this. We need you to tone it down a little bit because you're getting a bit uppity.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Like, yeah,
It's
the way they're the way that I don't know if it's Lumen, if it's the society at large, but just the way that they're like using his race as a way to agitate him is really
yeah.
interesting.
I I really want to know more. I need more information about his backstory.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
Natalie.
I honestly, I'm really like, I'm almost kind of doubting if she has any human consciousness beyond the board.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the board is just basically remote controlling her,
Yeah,
and
I kind of wondered about that. If
yeah,
she's just like maybe like some version of like Gemma where she's a full-time any
yeah,
she doesn't ever she never gets to switch it off. She's just like a mouthpiece for the board all the
yeah,
time and doesn't actually have any personality or like a life of her own. But yeah,
yeah.
we don't know anything about Natalie.
No, I hope we get to find out.
Yeah, me too.
I want a backstory of like Milchick and Natalie, where they're both just like totally normal people, and like Natalie is just like, I don't know. I'd love to see a backstory on Natalie where she's just like really rebellious and outspoken.
Mm,
Like, I would love that. Um,
that would be very cool. She's just like in a
yeah,
bar doing darts, smoking a cigarette, and then Lumen finds her.
right. But yeah, she's so, I feel like they might have chosen, the board might have chosen actually to speak through her, um, to be their mouthpiece, because she's okay. First of all, she's absolutely gorgeous. I
Yeah,
mean, she's
she's beautiful.
ridiculously stunning, but
Hmm.
she is so like, she seems so pleasant. She comes across as just so pleasant and warm, even though she's really not. She's just kind of robotic. Um, but she's also black.
Hmm.
And I think Lumen might enjoy the fact that she's black, because it's a way of them
Yeah,
saying, "We're not
they're like,
racist."
yeah, they're very like our spokeswoman, the face of the company is a black woman.
Yeah, even though we completely destroyed her individuality and her
Yeah,
personality, and we're just, and she
it's
basically
giving
just took
Aunt
the board.
Jemima, like it's giving Aunt Jemima. That's that's all I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah,
a black face behind a white machine.
yeah.
Um,
I want these people rescued from Lumen so badly.
I really
And
want to know what Lumen wants. Like, what is the like goal? What are they do? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
so, okay, I've been thinking more about like why there's all this old technology, and why they drive these old cars and everything.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm thinking it's so that they can't be hacked, maybe?
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but but I also, I all part of me also feels that like maybe they're getting ready for the return of Kier, and they want it to be a more comfortable world when that happens. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not like just overwhelmingly modern. Um, but there's God, this show is confusing me so much, because like now they're making us question what is going on. Where is Mark when all these things are happening? Is he at work, or is he
Yeah. Are
like,
these memories?
what is
Yeah.
happening? I
It's
hope.
really like, yeah, the way they're doing the storytelling this season is so like narratively loose. It's like hard to keep track of what's real and what's not, and that's so cool.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
stressing me
agree.
out. Like it's giving me so much. I have not been able to stop thinking about this episode since it aired.
Yeah,
But I mean, what an amazing show. Like it's so
yeah.
different than anything else that I've
Um,
ever seen.
I I loved the overwhelming priority that they placed on consent
Hmm.
in everything regarding Mark and Helly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she told him she wanted her own memories, and then she asked him if he would like that. Um, and I mean, it was just like they really prioritized consent in this episode, which
Yeah.
I appreciated so much.
And the regaining of agency.
Yeah,
Yeah. I loved the way they handled that. I was really terrified to see Helly find out. I was
yeah,
dreading that, and they handled it beautifully. Like, not saying that I wanted to, I thought she was going to be angry at Mark a lot longer.
yeah,
I was like ready for them to be like at odds for the rest of the season. And I really think it's powerful that she was like, you know what? No, like, I'm not going to let Helena take him from me. I'm not going to let her, destroy this relationship that I built that she took advantage of. Like, I'm going to reclaim that for myself. And
yeah,
I don't know, that was really this whole episode, like, with the conversations that it's having about consent and race and like humanity in general is just really powerful all around. Like, the Burton Irving and Field scene was really interesting and intense and added a new wrinkle.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah, let's talk about that because Irving obviously was very careful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he got rid of radar before he went to I don't know if he just drove him over to a friend's place or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but radar was not there when Drummond broke in. So he he knew that that was going to be a possibility.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Um,
Because he does leave. We know he leaves Radar at home when he's at work.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I've been
Um,
wondering if it means that Bird is in cahoots with Drummond, that they brought him over, and then Drummond immediately shows up at at Irving's house and starts going through his shit. Like,
he's either in cahoots with him or Drummond is just watching him.
mm-hmm.
Um, and he knew that and wanted to make sure that that radar wasn't there. Um, but no, I mean Drummond could be breaking into his house at work too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it does make you think that he could be in cahoots with Bert. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I I did find it interesting that he just left the severed employees list there, but he hid his paintings though.
Yeah.
He hid all his paintings of the elevator in the hallway. But
Yeah. Really strange.
yeah, and he got rid of radar, but he left his he left the list
They're
of
like
severed
giving us
employees.
nothing on Audi Irving
I
at
know.
all. Like, just such like teeny little teases of there's something going on. Like, he's up to something.
Yeah.
Who's he always calling on that payphone?
I know. He's
What is
easily
going
the
on? We're on episode 6. I need some more answers.
he's easily the most fascinating character.
Yeah. I feel like
Um
the Thrum fandom. Give
yeah.
me answers.
Yeah,
Gimme, gimme,
exactly.
gimme, gimme. Sorry, that was rude.
But
Um,
oh god, this depressed me so much because I'm such a Burbank shipper and
mhm.
I'm gonna be shocked if Bert doesn't turn out to be a terrible person at this point.
Yeah, it seems unlikely that he's a good guy, which is a bummer. um,
God.
I that whole dinner was so weird and uncomfortable and like tense.
Yeah.
Uh, Field, like the actor that played Fields, I can't remember. You put his name in the notes and I forgot it.
John
But
Noble.
yes, thank you, John Noble. He was great.
Yeah.
He was really interesting. The performance was really interesting, and I loved that. They joined Lumen for religious reasons. Like, that's so
Yeah.
so
Let
different.
let's
Like,
talk about that.
yeah,
So
what up?
it was they had that conversation about heaven and hell. Um, and then they go to church and hear that sermon, almost as if the
Mhm,
pastor had heard their conversation. In the Lexington letter, the Peggy Kincaid got into an accident with the school bus she was driving.
mhm,
Um, and she was like, why am I continuing to work this job? And that's where she heard an ad for Lumen and the Severance opportunity, like somebody was reading her thoughts almost.
yeah.
Um, and I keep thinking that somehow or another the Egans are able to take over people's consciousness.
It definitely seems like they're deliberately targeting certain people, like they're after specific people for specific reasons.
Yeah.
And clearly, they obviously need Mark, like
Yeah.
they said that. But it seems like it's not just Mark. It seems like there's a lot of people that they're like pursuing and targeting to bring into the company. I just don't know why at
Yeah.
all. Like
Yeah, for sure.
it's really
Um,
interesting.
I I had to laugh when Fields was like, "Yes, we can feed him a pile of loose corn."
Yeah, a pile of loose corn.
Oh my gosh.
And he
Um
sends Irving home with a whole ham. Where what? We had a spare ham. We'll just
Yeah,
we were gonna throw it in the trash, but
yeah.
it's so weird.
And I love that Fields called Bert a Philistine. Like, it because I mean, they basically
Mhm.
bonded at Lumen over art and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
I love
funny.
that Bert called himself a scoundrel. I was like, "Oh, are we talking specifically about Christopher Walken, or are we just hinting?"
Why is he going to hell? Seriously. Like,
I'll tell you off the podcast. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say anything libelous on air.
right. I also forgot, it's so funny because we did our Yellow Jackets recap yesterday, and I totally forgot to mention Jeff's Jeff's little Christopher Walken impersonation.
That was so funny.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Um, but
I love
yeah,
Jeff.
um, I don't know. I'm really excited to see Bert and Irving get together without Fields and see how that goes. There were pictures of the two of them together with Radar.
Hmm.
Um, I'm hoping that we're just being completely misled and maybe Fields is the one who's suspect, but
I
I
think
don't
Christopher
know.
Walken plays a bad guy too well for them.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to get to use both sides of
Ugh,
that Walken charm and menace.
I don't like it. I don't like it,
Yeah,
man.
I don't like
Don't
it either. I gotta know what Bert's doing, or Irving's doing. I mean, I need to know more about like what he's trying to figure out.
yeah.
Um,
By the way, I did find out we were talking during our live last week about how John Turturro wanted Christopher Walken to
mhm.
to play Bert. And we were like, what came first? Was the gender still open, or no, the character of Bert was very fleshed out. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so he did not choose. It would have been even cooler if he could have had a
Mhm.
female love interest and he's like, nope, I
Yeah.
want Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Um, but no, Bert was very fleshed out. He was a male character, and
Mhm.
But John Turturro wanted him specifically to play Bert. Um, but yeah, I'm like,
Mhm.
and what's this? 20 years ago.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Like,
And he's not, he's not, it's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like they're lying. They're obviously lying. Bert's been severed for 20 years.
yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Maybe he was one of the first. Or how long have they been doing this to
Oh,
people?
man. Yeah,
I mean,
I
they
I
had
don't
to do
know.
trials. I mean, I don't know. Again, we don't know that like we're necessarily dealing with like our reality like as we see it. Like, like there's a lot of argument that Lumen is another timeline or dimension or whatever, blah blah blah. But like they had to do trials at some point. Like there had to be some form of early human trials of the Severance ship before they started. If they
Yeah.
only started, if they're doing it 12 years ago, like, and letting people, get jobs on the severed floor starting 12 years ago, there had to be some form of testing going on before that.
I have a
But 20
thought.
years is a long time. What's that?
What if Bert is actually Cure? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here, this is why I'm saying this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because of that conversation he had because of the conversation that Bert G and Irving B had at work,
Mm-hmm.
and he made that comment, like, about how Cure finds other ways to speak
Mm-hmm.
through us.
Do you think he's like maybe like they keep replacing Kier's consciousness in new bodies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that could.
I don't think that my theory is that consciousnesses are not necessarily being transplanted into one body. I think they're being replicated. That's my
Mm-hmm.
theory.
I feel
Um,
like if he worked here, they wouldn't have him working in O&D, like just as like a regular. They would have like a more honorable job.
yeah, but I mean, O&D is pretty important. I mean,
Yeah.
they can 3D print. Like, I'm pretty sure they're 3D printing people's avatars,
Yeah.
like those, like, the twins that we saw at the Orpo.
Yeah.
Those were likely 3D printed. Um, I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I Yeah, I don't know. Um, but so we saw Gretchen. Let's talk about Dylan and Gretchen for a second.
Yeah.
We saw Gretchen lie to
Again.
Dylan. Yeah.
Again. Oh, they're in
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
I think it's how like so complicated. This whole like had like all of it, the entirety of the situation. Um, but I'm really enjoying watching like Annie Dillon get to experience like love and affection for the first time. It's very cute. Zach Cherry is such a good actor.
Yeah.
I say that after like every single sentence, but yeah, everyone on this show is an amazing actor. Zach Cherry he just brings such a sweetness and like
I was grinning through that whole scene.
yeah, it was adorable.
It
It was
was.
it was freaking adorable. I love him and Merritt Weaver paired off together. They're great together.
Yeah.
Um, it warmed my heart.
And I think they changed the scene on the windows. Did
Hmm.
they? Did they
Yeah,
change?
they were
Yeah.
putting up different pictures.
Or not. I mean, like, of the outside, I mean. Um
Oh, I didn't even
which,
notice that.
yeah, I think I could be wrong, but
Hmm.
I thought it was like a waterfront scene, and this time it looked more like they were in a field, like a wheat fields or something.
Hmm.
Which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, she had her hair down, which I thought was interesting. And then when we saw her with Audi Dylan, she had her hair kind of like pulled back.
Yeah.
Um, so I like she's very clearly favoring any Dylan
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And I wonder what.
What happens if she gets pregnant?
Oh my god.
Which Dylan's baby is it?
Oh my god. And what if they're not like? What if they're not sleeping together?
I know. I've considered that because
Yeah.
they don't seem very happy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
see anyone with 3 kids, and I'm like, they seem miserable, but they don't seem very happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Their whole exchange was so like sad and uncomfortable.
I know.
Like, yeah, with him being like, I want to go test drive it. Like, well, yeah, that entire scene was a bummer, especially compared to like the earlier scene of her and Any Deal and being so sweet and like happy and upbeat. The follow up scene was a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It really was. Um so the what else do we need to talk about? Okay. Helena.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
first of
here.
all, it cracked me up that I think Mark had about like 6 plates of food in front of him.
Right? He ate a lot. I
Oh
guess
my
she
god.
said that's part of reintegration. It's
What's that?
like a she said that Ragabi said that's part of reintegration. It's
Yeah.
like being really hungry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Apparently extremely hungry. And the way he was just like he could not shovel that food in his mouth fast enough.
Mhm.
Um,
I had to re-screenshot it a couple times because there's a lot of like leg stills
yeah.
of him just like
But
not attractive.
so she's clearly stalking him.
Yeah,
But why?
100%. Like, I guess just everyone at Lumen likes to stalk Mark. Like, why can't they leave this guy alone?
Oh my
First
god.
Cobell, now she's showing up at his freaking rent. Like, can't eat dinner without getting stalked by some weirdo that he works with.
And
Um,
she was very flirty with him.
it was creepy. It's so upsetting knowing what she knows, that like she knows she's assaulted him. He
Yeah.
has no knowledge of it. Like, it's so fucked up. And then for her to be like, tee like, what is happening? What is she doing? Like, what is I really was confused by what her goal was. And then for her to start like threatening him, basically.
Yeah.
She threatened him. Like, it was very strange. I'm deeply sus about like what her motivations are, period.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really get it.
Mm-mm.
She like obviously she doesn't and I don't know, everything about her is so disturbing. Like she she rapes him and then refers to
Mhm.
them as all as animals, which I'm sure she's
Yep.
including Mark in that, you know.
Mhm.
Um like it's just and now she's like I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like
Me neither. Like, why is she still stalking him?
is she
It's
thinking that okay, she might be pregnant with his child and she's
I think
wanting
it's too
to
soon for that.
like is she cosplaying? I mean, is she just like I don't
It
know.
was very weird.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, I cannot. I don't know if she's maybe suspects him of reintegration,
Possibly.
or because like whatever was going on, she was there to deliver a message,
Yeah.
and like the message was, well, like so like you're gonna end up like your wife, basically. I don't know, like obviously she didn't come out and say that, but that seemed to me like what she was trying to get across.
Yeah.
And if that was where we were headed, why did we start in this other flirtatious place?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a great scene. It's crazy seeing like these two actors play such different versions of these characters across from each other. Like, I'm used to being so happy seeing Mark and Helly together, and
Yeah.
like that scene was so dreadful and tense and like unsettling.
Yeah. Yeah, it
What is she
absolutely was.
doing?
Um,
I need to
so
know.
a lot of people were okay. Also, seriously, I need to know what is up with the lumen regulation, Bob, because like it's like Miss Casey and Drummond basically have the same hair.
Yeah,
And Rickon has the same hair too.
yeah.
Like, why does Rickon have a lumen regulation, Bob?
It's the Rachel of this universe.
Yeah, like I don't understand. I'm so confused. Um, I yeah, I don't get it. Um, but so the Mark's seizure and everything. A
Hmm.
lot of people are debating whether or not this could possibly be the death of Mark S. And I'm really like I really hope that's not the case because Mark
I
S is just,
refuse.
he's so precious.
I refuse.
He's
I
so
won't. No,
precious.
I
Like,
love
just
him.
if you're gonna kill off one of the Marks, just kill off Audi
Yeah.
Mark and have any Mark
Yes.
just take his place on the outside too.
100%. Yeah. All day. I can't. I can't. If
And
they kill off
I
any
feel
Mark,
bad for saying that because like he's he's clearly,
traumatized.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he also it sounds like maybe he wasn't the greatest husband.
We don't really know that much about him before.
You know.
Like, I've seen people say that. I've seen people like say like Gemma killed herself to get away from Mark or like stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't feel like Mark's obviously an alcoholic, but I feel like that's because Gemma died. Like, I don't know if was he an alcoholic before that? Did they ever address that? I don't, not that I can remember.
Well, I think people are like I think a lot of people are saying that this week and basing it off the bargaining conversation about
Hmm.
like how he would drink less and listen more.
Yeah.
Um but I yeah, I don't know. I've always like since I first started watching this show, I always wondered if perhaps they didn't have the greatest marriage and she actually
I
might.
always felt like that was why he was so traumatized, is because like they were really happy, and I
Yeah.
mean it's just as easy for it to be the other way, but everything they show of them together is them being like happy and
Yeah.
having positive moments, and maybe that's all Mark cares to think about, because that's all he doesn't want to hold on to the negative memories. But I always thought they had like a good relationship, and that's why part of the reason why he's so devastated to lose her.
Yeah. Um I yeah, I mean, I like there's also a theory out there which and I think like I haven't seen a lot of really terrible theories with the show. There's a lot of theories floating around. I haven't seen a lot of terrible ones. So I'm kind of
Mhm.
loving the theories that this fandom comes up with. Um, I've also heard the theory that perhaps Gemma was involved in Lumen, and didn't tell Mark about it.
Yeah, I could see that being true.
Yeah. Um, and it could have somehow led to her
I
death.
I sort of I have this like, I don't even want to call it a theory because it's barely like, it's just an idea that like maybe the people who are on the severed floor, the reason they're like looking for specific people and like going after like courting specific people, is that they have to have some connection to the files that they're working on for
Yeah.
them to like be able to read the emotions properly. Um, but I really, since we don't know what anything means, that's like, like obviously Mark's being there has some connection to Gemma being there. So I'm wondering if everyone who's there has something similar, like not necessarily a wife, but like a cousin or a friend, or a teacher or somebody that they knew that they're also in charge of working on. I don't know. There has to be a reason that they're after specific people.
Yeah. Yeah. I I think there is. Um, and I think that's why things are happening, such as like Peggy Kincaid hearing that ad on the
Yeah.
radio when she did, or like, or Bert and Fields, their pastor, talking about Severance during
Yeah,
their sermon, which obviously that pastor is involved with Lumon.
for sure.
Um,
When have you ever heard of a pastor being excited about anything new? Like new
yeah,
technology, anything ever. Oh no, everything new is the devil all the time. So
but what's strange though is like here is treated like Jesus. Like you would think that like it's weird.
yeah,
It's weird to me that religions would even still exist at this point.
yeah, that's it. Like I'm surprised to see there's still like regular Christianity alongside whatever. Like, is Lumen just like a huge cult, or like do people not know about the like creepy like cure worshiping side of it? They have to, because there's like a bunch of shit named after him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What a puzzler this show.
Yeah, I'm so completely confused. Um but who are you putting in the old break room this week?
uh uh ooh. I really, 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 really want to go uh with Helly. Man, I'm gonna do two because I have to. Number one is Helly for like her incredible performance and her reclamation of her agency, and
So she's getting the incentive.
yeah, and her incentive is free passes to the sex tent room. And I also want to give a minor incentive, maybe like 6 finger traps to Milchek. Just because that performance this week was incredible.
Yeah,
That's where when his hands were shaking. It broke my heart.
I
It
know.
made me feel like it's such a huge discussion to be having in such a small scale. I loved it. So he's getting 6 finger traps to Milchek and free passes to the break room for Helly R. And then in the break room, like most weeks, is going to be Helena Egan because she's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
I know that's not a very original answer, but I hate her. So
No, I mean, yeah, I'm putting her in the break room too because
yeah,
she's awful and she's the clear choice this week.
but yeah. Quit menacing my buddy. Like, leave him
Uh,
alone.
what the fuck, man? Um, and actually, I'm gonna put her in the break room with with Bert because he's clearly up to no good.
Yeah, what's going on there, Bert?
I don't know.
That
Um,
look he gave him at the end really creeped me out.
I'm giving my incentives this week to Irving for being so fucking smart and like being prepared for Drummond to break into his place.
Yeah.
Um, and he gets he gets a waffle party with just Bert dressed up in all the costumes.
At the same time, or like
Yeah.
4 versions of Bert in
Yeah.
underneath
Yeah,
the
he
costume. I
gets a
like that.
waffle party with 4 Berts.
I'm into it.
um
Oh my god.
and yeah, and you know what, actually fuck it, I'm putting 3 people in the break room this week. I'm putting Helena, Bert, and Drummond all in the break room. And I'm putting the regulation Bob in the break room too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where it belongs.
Yeah,
I really want to know more about Drummond. We've really got
I know.
nothing on Drummond other than it seems like maybe he's like
The
the
new
like
Grainer.
the corporate head version of Grainer,
Yeah,
but like we've gotten zero in like information on him, and I love that actor.
yeah, yeah. I need to get a wig that looks like the Lumen
Bob, the Lumen Bob,
relation Bob. Yeah, yeah. I
wear
really
it to
need
the
to.
finale.
That's on my list. Um, but did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we get out of
I
here?
think we hit it.
All right.
Oh no, there's one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
What was the name of the fellowship program that Miss Huang is
Wintertide.
studying? What is that? Is that their
Um,
child enslavement program? What is that?
yeah, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
sorry, I meant to bring that up, and I completely slipped my mind not to like backtrack. But yeah, that the fact that she's there on like some specific program, I'm like
Yeah,
very interested in like, is she severed? Does she know what's going on? Like, I don't know. I have a lot of questions about her. And she like obviously is trying to become a higher level at Lumen.
yeah.
She was so excited to get the chance to like manage the floor.
I
And
know.
then on her like her first try managing the floor, like two people sneak off to bang and no work gets done. So that
Yeah.
was interesting. But yeah, I thought that like they named why she was there without giving us any information. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And I loved that she was so excited to get to sit at Milchick's desk, and he was like, "You could sit at your regular desk."
Yeah. Yeah, she was
Um,
like so ready to go. There's
yeah.
Steve's asking if we think that she could have left the floor unsupervised on purpose, and that she's like working against Milchick that way.
Huh.
She's trying to get
Ah.
everybody pregnant.
Maybe. I don't know. I think she really does not like Milchick.
No, yeah. It's
Um,
interesting that they put I'm not sorry, I don't want to like keep dragging these on. It's interesting they put an Asian woman in that role. And
yeah.
you're like in like with Milchick's story being so like closely focused on race this season, and like basically Asians being considered the model minority, like him like thinking he's climbed this ladder to get to this, the top of the summit, and he's like now the head of the severed floor, and then they put a young Asian woman on his heels. That's really interesting. It's just really interesting. The way they're examining race this season has been really interesting.
Oh yeah, it's totally fascinating. I love it. The social commentary in this show is just incredible.
Hmm. But I
It
need to know why
boggles.
she's a child.
What's up?
I said I need to know why she's a child.
I know.
That's really bothering me.
Yeah. Um, I'm like the social commentary in the show is so fascinating, and it just which baffles me as to how I'm seeing certain types of people enjoying this show, which I don't quite get it. It's for the same
Mhm.
reason I don't understand how certain kinds of people are enjoying The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I know what you
um,
mean.
it's a commentary on people like you, or why are you enjoying this show?
Yeah,
um,
yeah. There's always people who think that the
yeah,
Empire are the good guys. It's
yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. All right. Well, let's skedaddle on out of here
Yeah,
and pour
gotta
yourself
go
a
praise
nice
here.
glass of Malbec and have some spare ham and and ponder your existential crisis about your innie going to heaven and you while you go to hell. Um again, guys, sorry that this was so late. Like I said, it's really hard to do this without screeners. Um
Hmm.
and yeah, it's just been rough. I mean, we're trying to get them out as soon as possible. Hopefully this next episode will go up sooner. But there's a lot to
It's
do.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it really
tough.
is. But we are getting these out as soon as we can. But join us on Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern. If we start getting enough people in our live chats, then we may do some giveaways or some fun games. Dawn joins us. Dawn from our Walking Dead coverage joins us on Fridays as well. The lives are always a lot of fun and super laid back.
They are. They've been a lot of fun this season.
Yeah, they really have. And you have a chance to call in if you want to as well. Follow us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. We are Cyborg Queen Media. And on X, we are Cyborg Queen TV. And with that, we will see you guys real soon. Praise Kier.
Praise here.